Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I am looking forward to sharing with you poems from the absolute end of this January to April 2022 issue collection book titled The Ice That Was from Scars Publications. The absolute ending poem is in the end of the book. I was just going to read to you a couple of poems from it in honor of the community poetry reading space that was in North Austin on the first Wednesday of every month from 1 to 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. I've got a little time left, so I'm going to share with you some poems. This first one is titled Like I Was Never There. Like I Was Never There. So I decided to sneak off one night to go camping with Sam and Vern. We all rolled out our sleeping bags out on the far side of the field at night. Sam had brought a hurricane lamp, but he didn't have any oil for it. So him and Vern went down the street, broke into a garage there, got a can of lawnmower gasoline. Because, you know, it makes perfect sense to use gasoline in your oil lamp. But anyway, in the shadows, by a street in the dark, they planned to fill this hurricane lamp with gas. But in the shadows, they couldn't see what they were doing. So Sam said that he needed more light so that he could see to fill the oil lamp with gas. So Vern decided to pull out his lighter. Vern, the bright one, was going to light the way, I suppose. And Vern lit his lighter, but there still wasn't enough light. Now, keep in mind that they were hiding in the bushes by a street with a lamppost. What to do, what to do. Sam asked Vern to move the lighter closer. I mean, these two flunked their way through a couple of years of school, and I knew I was young, but I knew this wasn't a good idea. So I started to back away. After I turned around, Vern apparently got the lighter too close. I was already 20 feet away when I felt the heat and saw an orange glow from the fireball. I started to run, but as I was running, I looked back and I saw two fireballs in the air. One was the lantern and the other was the gas can. And I swear to God, the lantern crashed down in the street and set the entire street on fire as the gas can landed uphill from the lantern, pouring gasoline down the street, so flames then ran up to the gas can, further spreading the street fire. I grabbed my sleeping bag and ran. I heard the sirens and had to act like I was never there. Another strange story in a poem for you guys, and it is titled Don't Go to Denny's. The next page is for the spread here. This is called Don't Go to Denny's. So one morning, leaving New Orleans on New Year's Day, ready to head back to Chicago, she said that we should stop at Denny's for breakfast. And I get it. Remember being a goth drama kid hanging out at a Denny's for all hours of the night because you were too young to drink in a bar. But I don't go to Denny's because one year, after partying for New Year's in D.C., Paul, one of my buddies there, said he wanted to go to a diner in Delaware for breakfast. Now, we hadn't had anything to eat, and we'd been drinking forever for New Year's, so we thought this was a good idea, and off we went. Now, as I said, we hadn't eaten, and as we were starving in Maryland, so when we saw exits to Annapolis, we thought, hey, this is a good place to grab breakfast. And we walked into an empty Denny's, which didn't even have locks on their doors because they were always open. They sat us in the booth and they took our order. The waitress brought Paul's Grand Slam and whatever I ordered, I don't know, an omelet, hash browns. But after we started eating, a really big man entered Denny's. And even though the Denny's was empty, they sat him right behind me in the booth right next to us. He was built like Chief Wiggum's, and he shook my seat as he worked his way in. I thought of the Simpsons episode where Wiggum was in the bench at a diner and Lou had to stab Wiggum's seat with a switchblade, popping it like a balloon so that Wiggum could get out of the booth. So when he sat in his seat, he moved my booth seat like 6 inches toward my table, and he immediately lit up a huge cigar that smelled like burning manure. Now, how would I know what burning manure smells like? Oh, okay, look, I've worked on a farm, lived on one for a bit, and when I tried to eat, all I could smell was that burning manure. So not 2 minutes after Wiggum sat down, I started hearing noises, and my seat started moving. A minute into this gurgling noises, which sounded more and more like heaves, I suddenly heard what sounded like wet plaster splattering against cement. This man right behind me was shaking and threw up for over 1 minute. Now, instead of burning manure, all I could smell was his alcohol and bile. So as I said to Paul, right then and there, we're leaving and not paying for our food. Still eating, Paul asked, well, why? Why? So after I tyrannically whispered that the smells and sounds of the fat man's vomiting escapes, the nonplussed Paul relented and followed me to leave. I gave the waitress a tip, but the people at Denny's understood why we wouldn't pay. So, yeah, we did go to that diner in Delaware, and the food was good, and no one vomited. And you know, for a minute there, I even thought about getting biscuits and gravy. But that New Year's, I resolved to never eat at Denny's again. I think I'm going to share with you the last poems that are in this book. Haha! They are right here in the book. Last page. That's how tiny they are. First one is titled Finding Faith in a Grocery Store. Waiting in line at the grocery store, I saw a pocketbook for sale titled The Idiot's Guide to Faith. And speaking of different faiths, the last poem in this book is titled Painted Buddhas. There are 2 pictures in here. If you want to see them, check out the webpage. You might get a color version of at least this one. This is the double plus awesome one that reflects the poem and is titled Painted Buddhas. When in Beijing, I saw a wooden wall with many rows of tiny, sculpted, painted Buddhas. Some Buddhas had their heads torn off. And I thought, Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I hope you enjoyed that reading. The final reading with the last pages of poems from the Down in the Dirt January to April 2022 issues collection book that is titled The Ice That Was. Yay, The Ice That Was. You can find it through Scars.tv. You can find it at Amazon.com if you're interested. And there's a ton of cool writing in this thing. It's huge, people. This is a huge book. So check it out if you're interested. You can find it online anywhere. I hope you've enjoyed listening. Looking at the time, might have time to do a couple more readings of current issues of 16 Down in the Dirt magazine. We'll see. Yay. And I hope everyone is remaining safe. I hope everyone is remaining creatively inclined. If you have been or able to be vaccinated, I hope you have been vaccinated. Stay good, everyone, and stay creative. And I'm looking forward to spending a little bit more time with you, and I look forward to hearing from each and every one of you every minute, any minute now. So thank you so much, and I look forward to hearing from you all very, very soon. Thank you, thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks.